Everybody makes mistakes, whether it's copying off the kid with way too many piercings when you know you should have been copying off the kid with the glasses, or if it's just leaving the sink running when you're not home. Bottom line is everybody makes mistakes. It's gonna happen. We're all human. But the thing is, even big companies make mistakes. Yes, I'm looking at you, Sega. Now, we're not going to be analyzing why the Sega failed today, and we're not going to be analyzing why this kid looks like the offspring of Honey Boo Boo's mom and a bull. No, we are going to be analyzing Pokemon and the mistakes they have made over the years. These mistakes can range from small to big and anything in between. It can range from the anime to the card game to the video game and anything in between that too. Hopefully you guys will enjoy this list and maybe you'll learn something new. Number 5. Poke Park. Poke Park was a widely successful theme park back in Japan, back in 2005. It was really successful. It had a fairly large amount of guests in its time opened, and it was just a really cool theme park for Japan. And I know so many people who would love to visit a theme park like this nowadays. It it really is sad that this theme park closed after only a year of being open. I know so many people who would love to go to this theme park nowadays, and a lot of people who never got a chance and would kill to go here. It was a big mistake that Nintendo closed down this theme park. It had a lot of cool attractions and a lot of awesome rides. I could really see me being happy going here, and I could really see me riding on a lot of these rides. Do you see those cool Pikachus and the awesome statues that they have around? It would just be so cool to visit, and hopefully one day Nintendo will reopen this park and make it even better, because this was one of their best ideas ever, and the fact that they closed it was horrible, and it was a big mistake on their part. Number 4. Pokemon Rebirth. Pokemon Rebirth was a great idea at first. It was the idea of a more serious Pokemon story coming into the Pokemon universe. Instead of the normal manga that was more for kids, this one was going to be more for adults. And when it was first announced, it had a lot of people speculating, a lot of people were really hyped up for it. But when more information came out on it, everyone discovered that it was just about a dude who could transform into a Pokemon, which is really stupid. I mean, just look at those pictures, look at his head. That does not look right, man. It doesn't look right for him to have a Pokemon's body in a human's head. This is an idea that never had to happen. It should have never taken place in the Pokemon universe, and it just seems like some fan-made crap. And it was also about him just fighting other people who could turn into Pokemon. It was a great idea at first. When it was first announced, it had a lot of hype, and the hype died right away, and it just turned into something horrible that only made a couple issues. It was a horrible idea from Pokemon, and it was one of their worst marketing mistakes, was making this. They could have made something way better for fans, and this is the crap we got. Alright guys, before we move on to number 3, I just gotta remind all of you guys that if you're gonna go out and drive today, make sure it's not misty outside. Well, you guys will get what I'm saying in a second now. Number 3. Misty. Misty was one of the all-time best characters in Pokemon. She was by far the best female character, and I know a lot of old fans would agree with me on that, and a lot of new ones would too. Misty was really one of the best characters, and with her, Brock, and the other guy, it was just the best time of Pokemon. It was when Pokemon, the anime, was at the top level, and when it was the funniest to watch. The three of them together built up such great comedy, and it was just so fun to watch all three of them together. And I can never wait to watch the next episode. It was so fun, it was so great, and the problem here is that Nintendo stated that they're never going to bring Misty back. And that's a huge mistake by them, because Misty is one of the best characters, and she was definitely the best female character. Without her, it just has never been the same. I can never get into it after Johto, and they really need to bring her back. So Nintendo, you gotta bring her back. You gotta realize your mistake. You've stated that you won't, but you guys need to turn around and bring her back. And I know all of you fans out there are probably getting all misty-eyed on me now, knowing that Misty's never gonna come back. But don't worry, I'll try cheering you guys up with number 2, and let's get right to it. Number 2. Burger King's Pokeballs. I'm sorry. Did I tell you guys I was gonna cheer you guys up? Well, you know what? You know what? I'm horrible at this. I'm very horrible at this. But this is probably sadder than all the other things we've talked about, so I'm very sorry. But I'm probably not gonna be cheering you guys up anytime soon. But anyways, Burger King was giving out toys to kids, and they were Pokeballs, and they were giving these out for a while, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. They give out these little Pokeballs to kids, and each little Pokeball would contain a different Pokemon, like you could see on the little thingy right there. Now there was a bunch of different Pokemon you could get. It was really cool. They don't do anything like this nowadays for kids, but you know what? This was cool. This was very cool. And the only problem with it was kids started to choke on the Pokeballs. There was a little girl, and she died by choking on the Pokeball. And even after she died, Nintendo and Burger King, they didn't want to get rid of their Pokeballs. They didn't want to stop selling them because they put so much money into them. And they told them that until they got proof that the little girl actually died from their Pokeball, they weren't going to stop selling them. And this is just jacked up because, I mean, the kids are choking on these and they're not going to stop selling them. So anyways, later on, another little girl, or little boy, I can't remember, chokes on another Pokeball. And thankfully their dad got to save them in time, and they didn't die. But after that, Burger King had to take these down. They had to stop selling these, and they had to release warnings about how these are dangerous and recall them. So that's the story of Pokeballs. And I mean, they call them Pokeballs, but let's face it, these weren't Pokeballs, man. These were Chokey balls. Alright, you know, I'm done. I'm done. Let's go to number one. Number one, Electric Soldier. Electric Soldier was episode 38 of Pokemon. It was only aired in Japan and never made it to America. This episode gave a bunch of Japanese kids seizures, and it was a very, very dangerous episode. It was the biggest mistake Pokemon's ever made. This episode caused a lot of kids to end up in the hospital, and thankfully it was never brought here to America, and thankfully all those kids that ended up in the hospital were alright. So they did get seizures, but they all lived. None of them died from it, and thankfully they're all safe, and they're all probably living great lives now. This episode featured a Porygon and a lot of bright lights. That was the problem. I heard that the whole episode doesn't have bright lights, but there's a few parts with Pikachu's lightning where there's a bunch of flashing lights, and it's totally understandable to see how it gave a lot of kids seizures. And a fun fact is that after this episode, Porygon has never been shown in another Pokemon episode ever, and that's completely understandable that Game Freak and Nintendo has done that. I would like to see him in another Pokemon episode in the future, but I really don't see that happening. Thankfully all those kids were okay, and that's everything that happened basically with this whole situation. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys learned something new, and thank you for putting up with my horrible jokes and puns. And hopefully you guys laughed at one of them. If you guys laughed at one of my jokes, or if you guys learned something new, or if you guys want to keep updated and watch my future videos, then go ahead and leave a like, comment, or subscribe to keep updated. And I'll see you guys in the next video.